Everyone always talks about Donald Trump being the biggest threat to our democracy. That is true. However, this kind of thinking that we're about to see is, I feel like, just as bad of a threat.
If Donald Trump is found guilty of one of these crimes, whether it's in this trial happening right now or one of the trials happening in the future, do you think he's fit to be president of the United States?
I don't think he's fit, but I'm voting for him.
I really feel like that we're not going to be able to survive another 4 years of the Democrats in charge.
But when asked her opinion on Trump's moral character, she had this to say.
What is your feeling today about Donald Trump's moral character?
It's terrible. It can't get much lower than it is. He continues to make crazy comments about being a dictator's first day and repercussions against people who he feels have wronged him.
So they're actually admittedly comfortable with a guy who they think is morally bankrupt and who wants to be a dictator, like a day one dictator, than, Joe Biden because old.
I think that people found it implausible that an Alzheimer's patient that can barely form a sentence is getting the most votes.
Sorry, what?
An Alzheimer's patient, Joe Biden, who can barely form a sentence.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that Joe Biden is cognitively in decline, and that's fairly obvious.
What's actually kind of worrisome of recent, if you're online, you're fighting misinformation, disinformation for years. If you're like me, I'm starting to feel I can't compete with the disinformation machine that is Fox News, New York Post, and now Elon Musk's Twitter. I mean, the rate that they spew out absolute disinformation, it's so pervasive that, sometimes CNN, MSNBC, and New York Times jumps in. They're like, what up, y'all? We saw y'all posted some disinformation on bail reform in New York City and these liberal cities. Let me get some of that. There is this massive amount of disinformation and what you blame presidents for. I expect people to blame presidents for things because, if something happens and it's, you're the president, the citizenry is naturally going to blame you. That's just the game. That's part of the game, bro. But what they get away with blaming President Biden for is wild. And the absolute disinformation. If you're going to hate Biden, there's so many valid, very good reasons, policy-wise, to hate him. These are the same people that, they hate Biden because, trans people, LGBTQ, gender ideology, CRT.
As far as protecting children, if there are institutions that have abused over 10,000 children, should they be allowed to operate in the U.S.?
I don't know who that organization would be as far as abuse of 10,000 children. I don't know who that would be, but obviously not.
It would be the Catholic Church.
Yeah, dude. That's not true. I got to cut this loose on that because that's nonsense.
Really?
That's nonsense.
You think that's nonsense? Oh, interesting.
Meanwhile, someone on the left is mad that Biden has deported as many people, as many people has been deported under the Biden administration as they have. And it doesn't make sense.